Good evening, everybody. Today, the Permanent Mission of Thailand and the Permanent Mission of Sri Lanka have the joint honor of welcoming you to the United Nations General Assembly Hall on the auspicious day of the International Day of Vesak. We have today the honorable presence of His Excellency Mr. Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General of the United Nations, Her Excellency Maria Emma Mejia Velez, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Colombia, today representing the President of the General Assembly, His Excellency Dr. Virachai, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Kingdom of Thailand, His Excellency Dr. Rohan Pereira, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Sri Lanka, as co-host of this event. It is now time to begin the official ceremony. May I have the honor to invite His Excellency Mr. Virachai, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Thailand, to the podium, please, to give his remarks.
Venerable monks, Mr. Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, Ambassador Maria Emma Mejia Velez, Vice President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset I would like to extend my deepest condolences to the government and the people of Sri Lanka, in particular those who lost their lives or are affected by the floods which recently struck the country. Our thoughts and prayers are with them. On behalf of the organizing committee, I extend a warm welcome to all of you at this year's celebration of the International Day of Vesak. We particularly wish to express our reverence and deep gratitude to the venerable monks gathering here from various Buddhist communities, as well as Ambassador Maria Emma Mejia Velez, who is here on behalf of the President of the General Assembly, and the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Ban Ki-moon. Their presence echoes the importance that the UN places on the role of religions and their message of peace. The commemoration of the International Day of Vesak at the UN this year is distinctively special, as we will have the honor to hear sermons by Venerable Tapovanaye Sutatsara and Venerable Pasanno Bhikkhu. Both distinguished monks have contributed extensively to the monastic tradition of Buddhism, providing spiritual guidance for Buddhist followers worldwide. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Vesak is a most sacred day to millions of Buddhists around the world. Vesak Day marks the birth, enlightenment, and the passing of Lord Buddha. On this day, Buddhists around the world gather to commemorate and reflect on the three jewels of Buddhism: the Lord Buddha, his teachings or Dhamma, and the community of Buddhist monks or the Sangha. On Vesak Day, Buddhists reiterate their determination to commit to a noble yet humble living, to practice loving and kindness, and to bring peace and harmony to humanity in accordance with the Panchasila, or the 5 precepts of Buddhist teachings. Today, to commemorate this important event, we have with us distinguished delegates from a number of member states representing a wide range of faiths, which helps to make this celebration a truly interfaith event, as it should be. From Thailand, former ASEAN Secretary General and our former Foreign Minister, Dr.Surin Pitsuwan, who is now the Foreign Minister's Special Envoy, will also deliver his remarks. Dr. Pitsuwan has been widely regarded for his roles in cultivating friendship and cooperation among countries of different religious and cultural backgrounds. He will today share with us his views on how pluralism and tolerance can help bridge differences and amplify the richness and benefits of diversity among nations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot conclude my remarks without expressing my sincere appreciation to His Excellency Dr. Rohan Pereira, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Sri Lanka, for co-hosting this year's Day of Vesak together with the mission of Thailand again. Let us be blessed by peace and harmony, and let us be guided by the light of compassion for all. Thank you.
The most venerable members of the Maha Sangha, Her Excellency Mrs. Maria Emma Mea Velez, Vice President of the General Assembly, His Excellency Mr. Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General of the United Nations, distinguished co-chair His Excellency Mr. Virachai Prasad, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Kingdom of Thailand to the United Nations, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I consider it a great honor and privilege to extend a warm welcome to you all and to address you on this very auspicious occasion, marking the thrice blessed day of Vesak that commemorates the birth, enlightenment and the demise of Lord Buddha. 16 years ago, Sri Lanka took the initiative to recognize the day of Vesak internationally by spearheading the adoption of Resolution 54/115 under the guidance of the late Lakshman Kadiragama, the then Foreign Minister of Sri Lanka, with the active participation of not only other Buddhist states, but all member states of the United Nations. Today, in this August General Assembly Hall, we commemorate this thrice-blessed day for Buddhists all over the world, when it has been declared as an optional holiday for the United Nations for the first time in terms of Resolution 69/250. This is the culmination of the initiative that we took 16 years ago. I strongly believe that this Vesak Day provides all of us with an opportunity to reflect upon the continuing relevance of the Buddha's message, as we in the United Nations are confronted with unprecedented challenges in the contemporary global order. Today, the global community is faced with increasingly complex challenges to international peace and security in the backdrop of a rapidly evolving threat of terrorism, violent extremism, and other forms of violent conflict. Let us ask ourselves the question whether we cannot find in the message of the Buddha the essential elements of the solutions to these challenges. I believe we can. That Buddhism advocates peace and non-violence as its universal and core message is only too well known. The spirit of tolerance and understanding has been one of the most cherished ideals of Buddhist culture and civilization over centuries. History does not record a single instance of persecution or shedding of blood for propagation of the Dhamma or forced conversion of people during its long history of over 2,500 years. The Buddha's doctrine spread peacefully across the frontiers of the Asian continent as it appealed to the reasoning and intellect of the individual. Violence in any form, under any pretext whatsoever, is absolutely against the teachings of the Buddha. It must be recalled in this regard that Emperor Ashoka of India, who resorted to war in expanding his vast Mayura empire, having witnessed the ravages of war and having later understood the universal message of the Buddha, adopted the policy of Dharma Vijaya, or conquest through the Dhamma, having renounced resort to violence and war. History records that Buddha, or the Enlightened One, not only preached non-violence and peace, but also visited the field of battle, actively intervening and preventing the outbreak of war. It is said that the Buddha personally intervened to solve a dispute that occurred between the royal clans of Shakya and Kolya, who were his paternal and maternal kinsmen, respectively, on sharing the waters of the river Rohini. These instances resonate as we deal with the issues of prevention of conflict and peaceful resolution of disputes in the United Nations. The essence of Buddhist philosophy in terms of peace and non-violence is captured very succinctly in the Dhammapada. It elucidates, Nahi verana verani sammantida kudachanam averanacha sammanti esa dhammo sanatano. In this world, hatred never ceases by hatred. It ceases by love alone. This is an eternal law. Dhammapada underlines the eternal truth that there can be no peace or happiness for man as long as, I quote, the victor breeds hatred and the defeated lies down in misery, and that he who renounces both victory and defeat is happy and peaceful, unquote. These words are of particular significance as we engage in post-conflict reconciliation of our societies, as our countries, including my own, emerge from long years of conflict. Winning the war will not bring happiness and harmony unless the peace is won in the hearts and minds of the people. In conclusion, I wish to quote Bhikkhu Bodhi, who expounded on the situation in which we, the global community, find ourselves in. And I quote, "We live in a world that thrives in conflict and in which the forces that nurture conflict are pervasive, obstinate, and terribly powerful. But what we can do and must do is to testify by our conduct to the supremacy of peace, to avoid words and actions that engender animosity, to heal divisions, to demonstrate the value of harmony and concord. The model we must emulate is that provided by the Buddha in his description of the true disciple. Quote, "He is one who unites the divided, who promotes friendships, enjoys concord, rejoices in concord, delights in concord, and who speaks words that promotes concord," unquote. These are the hallowed principles that we must put into practice as we deliberate at the United Nations and strive to implement the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations and to create a world of peace. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to inform you that we will be hosting the International Day of Vesak in 2017 in Sri Lanka, along with an International Buddhist Conference with the participation of over 400 delegates from over 100 countries. We will be happy to share more information on these celebrations in due course. I feel extremely privileged to be part of this year's UN Vesak Day celebrations. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to His Excellency the Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Kingdom of Thailand for joining us in making this meritorious endeavor a success. May all beings be happy and content. I thank you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I thank His Excellency Ambassador Rohan Pereira for his welcoming remarks, and now have the honor and the pleasure to invite His Excellency Mr. Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General of the United Nations, to address us.
Your Excellency, Mr. Virachai Prasai, Permanent Representative of Thailand to the United Nations, Your Excellency, Mr. Amrit Rohan Pereira, Permanent Representative of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka to the United Nations, Your Excellency, Ambassador Maria Emma Mejia Velez, Acting President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished monks and religious leaders, welcome to the United Nations. I am delighted to be here to commemorate the International Day of Vesak with you. My own mother is a devout Buddhist. I was fortunate to learn the teachings of Lord Buddha through my family. They have been a great source of wisdom in my life. My distinguished predecessor, Secretary General U Thant, was a very religious Buddhist. Nearly 40 years ago, he delivered a lecture about Buddhism at the United Nations. Secretary General Thant talked about karma, the principle that every action has a reaction. He said this is echoed in the United Nations Charter's call for countries to live in peace with one another. I fully agree. Secretary General Tant also underscored the Buddhist values of non-violence and selflessness. We all know these are fundamental to peace. I fully support his view that Buddhist teachings can help our world, especially the law of the love and compassion for all living beings. As he said, when we act with compassion and respect, national and international problems, quote, will fall into perspective and become easier to solve, unquote. Our challenge is to apply the Lord Buddha's wisdom to the real problems in our world today. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Buddhism teaches that all people are interconnected. We must face global problems together. Poverty, displacement, disasters, diseases, conflict, and climate change all transcend national borders. On a more fundamental level, we can never advance as a human family if we leave the poor, the sick, or the vulnerable behind. That is why our 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development aims to create a life of dignity for all people. The Paris Agreement on climate change will benefit the entire planet. And next week, we are convening the World Humanitarian Summit to forge solidarity and help the farthest behind first. I count on Buddhists and people of all faiths to support these important international initiatives for global progress. International Day of Vesak is a reminder to practice compassion for all people. That includes reaching out across religious divides, reject bigotry, and embrace all people equally. Ladies and gentlemen, let us actively work to heal divides based on the understanding that everyone has fundamental human rights that deserve respect. I count on all of you to help us realize true peace. Thank you for your leadership and commitment, and congratulations on Vesak. I thank you very much. Thank you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary General will now leave the General Assembly Hall. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I now have the honor and pleasure to invite Her Excellency Ms. Maria Emma Mejia Velez, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Colombia, to deliver her remarks on behalf of the President of the 70th session of the General Assembly.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the words of Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, religious leaders, distinguished monks, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to deliver this statement on behalf of the President of UN General Assembly, His Excellency Morgan Slikodov. It is a joy to be amongst you today in the making of the Vesak International Day celebrations. Please allow me to extend my appreciation to the permanent missions of Thailand and the permanent mission of Sri Lanka for co-hosting this auspicious day for Buddhism worldwide. Buddha taught us that nothing exists in isolation. All phenomena in the universe exist with the context of mutually supportive relationships. With this in mind, nothing exists without meaning. Nothing is wasted. Interviewing these threads of interdependence, the universe has brought forth and nurtured life, including human life on this planet. These words of wisdom transcend time and carry great relevance in our common endeavors today to achieve inclusive, equitable, and sustainable development. The United Nations, since its inception, has worked for the betterment of humanity through its effort to maintain international peace and security, uphold human rights, and foster sustainable development. Buttressing all its efforts is the promotion of understanding, of tolerance, of respect, and of dialogue between and among diverse cultures, civilizations, faiths, and people. In my way, these are now prerequisites for achieving many of the goals that the United Nations, and indeed we as human beings, aspire of today. At this most sacred day in Buddhism is commemorated by hundreds of millions globally, Vesak reflects on a faith that is characterized by tolerance, harmony, and assimilation. Therefore, today I call upon you to heed the wise words of Buddha, to open our minds and strengthen our endeavors to address major global challenges, from eradication of poverty to ending the proliferation of deadly weapons, from tackling intolerance and inequality to addressing the devastating consequences of climate change. On this Vesak Day, I invite people of all traditions to reflect on the actions that we can take to create a kinder, better world for future generations based on solidarity, inclusiveness, peace, and sustainability, a world that leaves no one behind. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the honor to invite Venerable Siri Ratana to lead the ceremony of observance of the Panchasila of the 5 precepts.
Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Pānātipātā vīramani sikkhapaдаṃ samādhiyāmi. Adinādānā vīramani sikkhapaдаṃ samādhiyāmi. Kāmesu micchācārā vīramani sikkhapaдаṃ samādhiyāmi. Musāvādā vīramani sikkhapadaṃ samādhiyāmi. සුරාමේරය මජ්ජපමා දට්ඨානා වීරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි තිසරණේන සද්දින් පංචශීලං ධම්මං සාදුකං සුරක්ඛිතං කତ୍වා අප්පමාදේන සම්පාදේ තබ්බං.
We monks are going to bless you by the power of Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, by the power of all the deities who protect this world. May all beings be well and happy. May all beings be free from jealousy. May all beings have courage, patience, understanding and determination to overcome failures in their lives. May all living beings attain ultimate bliss of Nibbana, ultimate peace. Having that aspiration, please listen to the Karaniya Metta Sutra.
Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Karaniya matta kusalena yantang santang padang abhisamecca sakko ujuca sujuca suvacu cassa mudu anatimani santussa koca subharoca appakiccoca sallavuka vutte santindriyoca nipakoca appagabbu kulesu ananugiddo naca kuddang samacare kinciyena vinyu pare upavadeyum sukino vakemino hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta eke cipana bhutatte tasava Tavarava anavasesa digavae mahantava majjhimarassa kanukatula dittavae vaddittae chadure ti avidure bhutava sambhave siva sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta naperu parannikobbeta nati manyeta katta cinang kanci vyarosana patiga sanyānāñña maññassa dukkha micceya mata yata niyam puttang ayusāyeka putte manurakhe vampi sabba bhutesu mana sambhavaye aparimanang mettanca sabba lokasmin mana sambhavaye aparimanang uddhang adoca tiliyanca asambādang averang asapattang tittang caranni sinno vāsayāno vāyāvatassa vigata middo etang sating aditteya brahmametang viharang idamahu ditting ca anupagamma sīlavādassanena sampanno kāmesu vineyagedang nahi jātu gabbaseyang punareti sabbītiyo vivajjantu sabbarogo vinasatu māte bhavattvantarayu sukhi digāyuko bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkhantu sabba sabba buddhanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba sanghanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to invite Venerable Tapavanaye Sutadara Thero, Director, Ventura Buddhist Study Center, California, to deliver a sermon.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Venerable members of the monastic community, distinguished members of the diplomatic community, ladies and gentlemen and friends in the Dhamma. Thank you for your kind invitation to be part of this International Day of Vesak at the United Nations. We are here for Vesak, Vaisak or Buddha Purnima, which we together celebrate regardless of our religious affiliations. When His Excellency Dr. Rohan Pereira mentioned about the late Mr. Lakshman Kaltragama, my memory flashed back to what he said to a journalist just after the UN General Assembly adopted Resolution 54/115 recognizing the Day of Vesak internationally. He was asked, as a person who is not coming from a Buddhist family, why was he so enthusiastic about putting forward the resolution to make the Vesak Day to be recognized by the United Nations. His response was remarkable. As far as I remember, what he said was, yes, we are born to a set of religious beliefs. When we grow up, we go beyond that. Having said that, I would like to draw your attention to some teachings of the Buddha that could be important for all of us. Vesak, the day that we celebrate the Buddha's birth, awakening and passing off, that the Buddha, the awakened one, taught a message of peace. We have heard over and over again the Buddha's message was a message of peace. We are at the world's place of summit, which you all work hard to bring peace to the world. Peace has been the precious, most expensive commodity for all human beings and all living beings and all nature. The Buddha, the awakened one, mentioned that we are beings of mind and body. In Buddhist literature, quite often you come across the word sentient beings. How do I understand that word? We are called sentient beings because we absorb information through our senses constantly. we see, hear, smell, taste, contact, and think. With one of the six senses, when one picks an object, how do we cognize it? Just take an example. Suppose I see a flower. I see it means there is a visual sensation. This visual sensation can be either a pleasant and unpleasant or a neutral sensation. When there is a pleasant experience, we begin to like it. If it is unpleasant, we begin to dislike it. When something is neither pleasant nor unpleasant, we decide it neutral. Every present sensory experience modifies, revises its previous experience. That is how we go on as human beings living this life. The experiences that we name as pleasant, we like them and we want them again and again, which a true craving in us. Unpleasant experiences get us into develop resent, anger, or hate. What are neutral experiences doing? Those neutral experiences brings us to the conclusion that the objects that we perceive as well as the perceiver are permanent entities. What did I mean by that? When I see an object, such as a plain wall, depending on the context, I don't have to like it or dislike it. Then I see it neutrally. When I see it, I come to a conclusion that the wall that I see is there and the one who sees the wall is here. We do not go into think that the transient, impermanent nature of the neutral visual sensation. All human problems revolve around this sense of permanence in human mind. Buddha observed that when I experience something that I don't like, I tend to get upset because I consider I am stuck there and no escape route is found. When I experience something that I like, I want that to be with me forever. Again, it is not forever too, because with the same pleasant experience over and over again, I may get bored. And then we want something, I want something again. These create lots of stress in human beings. Imagine what happens when you drive on a freeway and you are stuck in traffic. You are racing to get what you want and you are prevented from getting there. I am standing in front of the mirror every day, most of the time, well, we all do, and you see a gray hair or a wrinkle, then what is our natural response? Oh my God, I am getting old is the immediate response in many human beings' mind. Sometimes we talk it to ourselves too. We see the age but not see the aging process. How do I get into the realization that nothing is permanent? You see that we see the change when change already happened, but we don't see the ongoing change, in other words. Then we need to calm down, and how? First, we need to develop skills to reduce the stress created by attractions to pleasant experiences and the resistance to unpleasant. We go into a mode of actions to prevent ourselves from thinking, saying, and doing things that are harmful to ourselves and others. Then we create a solid ground to keep both our feet together. That is the first step. We capture the ground by that. We need to consolidate it. Let us give some thoughts on the next step of inner progress. Both life and matter are subject to change, but we don't catch it. Ongoing change is hard to be observed by our senses as long as we are controlled by the mind, which always connect us with past and future. We need to train ourselves to separate mind from 5 sensory experiences. I mean eye, ear, nose, tongue and body, when each of these senses experience consecutively seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching. When one pays close attention to a living being, first thing that anyone notices is that each one of us is a breathing being. We breathe. That is why we are alive. It is in-breath and out-breath, which is in non-stop flow. That is the most solid reference point that we are able to watch the change that is ongoing. Just take a minute while you are sitting still and please pay attention to your breath. If we can connect each sensory experience with the breath, then we develop awareness of change. I am breathing in, I am seeing. I am breathing out, I am seeing. I cannot step into the same stream of water twice, not only because water that I stepped flown down, but also because the one who stepped in also has flown away, and in a subtler way. When I inhaled the breath, I saw something, and when I exhaled, I saw something too, but not the same thing, though it looks the same. In the textual story of the Buddha, we find that the Buddha as a prince meditated on the breath. You can watch your breath and achieve focus, which makes us experience tranquility. That was the standard method of meditation then. The Buddha looked at the process of inhalation and exhalation to realize the constant change. That is considered one of the outstanding discoveries of the Buddha. When we look at what I shared with you so far, the message of the Buddha for us is to transform ourselves from what we are conditioned to see to what reality is, which brings peace to oneself. May peace prevail in all. May these thoughts along the path of Dhamma guide us to end suffering. Dukkhapattacha niddukkha. May all who suffer be free from suffering. Bhayapattacha nibbhaya. May all who have fear be free from fear. Sokapattacha nissoka. Hontu sabbe pipanino. May all who are in sorrow be free from sorrow. May all beings be well and happy. Thank you.
May I now invite Venerable Prasanno Bhikkhu, abbot of the Abhayagiri Buddhist Monastery, San Francisco, California, to deliver a sermon.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. I extend my good wishes to the Venerable Sangha who have come here, all the monastics, the members of the diplomatic community, and the laymen, laywomen who are here today, ladies and gentlemen. Today being Visakha Puja Day, we're reflecting and remembering the life of the Buddha and the story of the Buddha. Our life as human beings is determined by the stories that we tell ourselves. we usually have a lot of stories going on in our mind. And some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are just dragging and dredging up the past. Some of them are worrying about the future. Some of them are obsessing in the present. But the story of the Buddha is the story of one who is awake or who has awakened. There's a well-known quote of Mark Twain's, of course, famous American writer, that said, "I've had many terrible things in my life, some of which have actually happened." And this is the reality. We tend to either get drawn into the stories of something maybe terrible, something that is desirable. But the Buddha is encouraging us to awaken. And this is when we recollect, so that the Venerable led us in taking the refuges and the precepts. The refuges are always recollecting the qualities which we can cultivate. It's not so much recollecting somebody in history, but it's recollecting what is possible for us, so that the qualities of the Buddha, when we take as refuge of wisdom, compassion, purity, these are qualities which we have the opportunity to cultivate and to embody. And that's what we are required to do, or are encouraged to do, in our taking of refuge, because the reality is we're taking refuge in many things. In our mind, we take refuge in our cameras. We take refuge in our distractions. We take refuge in all sorts of things. But to take refuge in being awake is the opportunity that we have as Buddhists. And this is what allows us to lay a foundation for the virtuous qualities that are intrinsic to the Buddhist teachings. And many people have spoken already of the emphasis on peace, on the emphasis on compassion, on the emphasis of harmony, and these are qualities which, of course, are worthy qualities to be recollecting. But we need to learn how to train within that and to take that as a refuge. It's like in the chant that we did of the Buddha's words on loving kindness. It's very interesting that in that chant there is this wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be happy. It's a very noble wish. But the first third of that chant is giving us instructions on what we should be doing. We should be peaceful and calm, wise and skillful. We should be humble, not conceited. We should be contented and not easily and easily satisfied. These are qualities we need to be cultivating, so that as Buddhists we have this opportunity and to be reflecting on the teachings, to be able to put the teachings into practice. When we reflect on the teachings, the most common teaching, if you ask most Buddhists what is the central teaching of the Lord Buddha, they will say the Four Noble Truths. And Four Noble Truths are generally delineated as the noble truth of suffering, noble truth of cause of suffering, noble truth of cessation of suffering, noble truth of the path leading to cessation of suffering. And what grabs people's attention, usually, particularly in the West, but also even in modern Asian cultures, is saying, "Oh, suffering. I don't really want to know about that." But the word that it comes from, dukkha, it has many nuances, and it's just the reality of the human condition that there is this experience of discontent, dissatisfaction, dis-ease, but also that is it's more of like a pointing to something that we need to resolve. We need to understand it. We need to know it so clearly that we can really be motivated to free ourselves, that we can be motivated to wake up. And sometimes again, where one say recoils a bit of this message of thinking that the message is about suffering, but it's like the Buddha and one of the images that the Buddha himself gives is that he's a doctor. And so, if you went to a doctor and the doctor asks you, where does it hurt? Where are you feeling discomfort and pain? You don't sort of walk away from the doctor's office saying, "Wow, what a lousy doctor. He's a really depressing doctor." It's an analysis of the human condition and paying attention to what is it that is going to help motivate us. So there is this truth of dukkha that the Buddha is pointing to. And of course, that might be a bit difficult to look at, but it's important to recollect that the path that the Buddha gives to train in, to cultivate, is one of happiness. All of the qualities that the Buddha encourages, the cultivation of virtue, of integrity, of generosity, of kindness, of mindfulness and wisdom, these are all sources of happiness. But it's important to not try to grasp after that without resolving and creating a good understanding. Because it's the understanding of dukkha that allows us to be really empathetic and compassionate, to be sensitive and clear to the human condition. And for the human condition to really live in peace and in harmony, it requires an ability to tune in and to feel what others experience, feel what we ourselves experience, and to motivate ourselves to this cultivation. So that on Visakha Puja Day, this is a wonderful occasion being held here at this auspicious place and on this auspicious occasion. And it's hopefully it is a reminder for all of us as Buddhists to put the teachings into practice and to live those teachings. Thank you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, there will now be a screening of short videos on the day of Vesak.
They don't announce the country.
Thailand, or Siam at that time, had very close religious ties with Sri Lanka. For this reason, Buddhist monks from Sri Lanka came to preach and propagate Buddhism in the kingdom, and brought along with them the Day of Vesak observation and celebration. During the Sukhothai period, the people of Sukhothai celebrated the Day of Vesak by observing the 5 precepts of Buddhism, listening to sermons in temples, making offerings to monks, and giving charity to the poor, the orphans, the helpless, and the disabled. The Day of Vesak is one of the most important days in Buddhism because of 3 important incidents in the life of Buddha: the birth, the enlightenment, and the passing away, which miraculously fall on the same month and date. Therefore, each year, Buddhists throughout the world, including those in Thailand, would gather to perform worship to recollect the wisdom, purity, and compassion of Buddha. In present-day Thailand, the Day of Vesak is observed as a national holiday. On the Day of Vesak, devout Buddhists in Thailand will observe not merely the 5 precepts that all Buddhists should observe on a daily basis, but an additional 3 precepts, namely, refrain from eating after midday, refrain from dancing, singing music, going to see entertainment, wearing garlands, using perfumes, and beautifying the body with cosmetics, and refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place. During the day, devout Buddhists visit temples to meditate and listen to sermons, and to make merits to the poor and the needy. Very devout Buddhists would make offerings to monks for at least a week prior to the Day of Vesak to help them with attuning their minds to the path of Buddhism. In the evening, Buddhists would go to temples for candlelit processions, walking around the main shrine of a temple 3 times to remind oneself of the 3 jewels of Buddhism: Buddha, his teachings or Dhamma, and the community of Buddhist monks and nuns or Sangha.
Koma persot jak ptei mieda ទី 2 ថ្ងៃដែលព្រះសម្មាសម្ពុទ្ធព្រះអង្គបានត្រាស់ដឹងអនុត្តរសម្មាសម្ពោធិញ្ញាណ និងថ្ងៃទី 3 គឺថ្ងៃដែលព្រះសម្មាសម្ពុទ្ធជាគ្រូនៃលោកយាងចូលកាន់បរមនិព្វាន
The
is observed with special ceremonies in many countries, with the majority or minority of Buddhist population either in May or sometimes in June. But Myanmar Buddhists traditionally celebrate Buddha Day or Vesak Day on the full moon day of Kaso, which falls in May to commemorate 4 significant events of Buddha. It was the day when Gautama Buddha, in his previous existence as Sumedha Hermit, received his divine prophecy from Dipangra Buddha that he would become a future Buddha. The day when he was born, the day he attained the enlightenment under the sacred Bodhi tree, and the day he passed away under the cell tree at the age of 80. From the dawn of the full moon day of Kaso, the pagodas, temples and monasteries throughout the country are packed with the Buddhist devotees who offer alms food, flowers, candles, candle sticks and offertories to Buddha statues and monks. On that day, they also lead a noble life, observing the moral precepts and practicing meditation. The Brita Suttas reciting groups also venerate the Buddha by chanting the Brita verses and the Masaka Bodhana Sutta. Another significant celebration held on Buddha Day is pouring water on the sacred Bodhi tree under which Buddha attained enlightenment. Especially, it is held on a grand scale on the platform of the Great Shirko. Moreover, the full moon day of Kaso sees people performing other meritorious deeds. Charity feasts are held, animals set free, and collective blood donation made across the country. On the noblest Buddha Day or Vesak Day, we wish people around the world to lead a blissful life, adhering to the teachings of Buddha and enjoy peace physically and mentally.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and I have the honor to invite His Excellency Dr.Surin Pitsuwan, Special Envoy of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Thailand, former Secretary General of ASEAN, and former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Thailand, to the rostrum to deliver his remarks.
Venerable monks, Ambassador Maria Emma Mejia Velez, Vice President of the General Assembly of the United Nations, representing the President of the General Assembly. Excellencies, members of the Buddhist monastic communities, ladies and gentlemen, it is a distinct honor to be a part of the International Community Day celebrating the International Day of Vesak, or in Thailand, Visakha Bucha Day. It was in 1999, during my time as Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Thailand, when we joined hands with Sri Lanka and other countries to introduce a UN General Assembly resolution seeking to recognize the contribution of Buddhism to humanity. It was a result of that resolution that we began to celebrate annual international observances of the Day of Vesak or Visakha at the UN headquarters here and the UN offices worldwide since the year 2000. I am therefore particularly honored and grateful to be able to address this august assembly that had its origin during my time as the Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Thailand. I was born a Muslim, went to a Buddhist temple school, became an academic, and the Foreign Minister of Thailand, first as Deputy Minister and then as Full Minister. My personal journey in public service exemplifies the deeply embedded values of interfaith harmony in Thailand, an inclusive society where all religions are respected and supported. His Majesty the King, King Bhumibol Adulyadej, is the supreme patron of all religions in his kingdom. Throughout his life and his reign, 70 years now, he has bestowed to all faiths, Buddhism, Christianity and Islam, Hinduism, Confucianism, his gracious patronage and support. The recognition of the most sacred day of Buddhists today reflects mutual respect and understanding among all faiths, which is a value very, very important to Buddhism that could be further nurtured for future generations for our posterity. ASEAN, for which I had the privilege to serve as Secretary General from 2008 to 2012, is a region with a rich diversity of faiths, of civilizational groups. Indonesia is the world's most populous Muslim country. Brunei Darussalam and Malaysia, Islam is also the predominant religion. In the 5 other countries, majority of the people are Buddhists. Then there is Singapore, where Christians, Buddhists, Muslims, and other faiths coexist peacefully. In these 10 countries of Southeast Asia, ASEAN, collectively, Christians number over 100 million, with the Philippines remains the largest home to Catholic Christians in Asia. Yet, in spite of, and may I say because of, this rich diversity, overall, ASEAN remains one of the world's most peaceful regions. This has been possible, I believe, because of the following reasons. In striving to become the ASEAN community, the group, 10 of us, both collectively and individually as nations, has made conscientious efforts to strengthen solidarity and interfaith cooperation amidst diversity. This will continue to be pivotal as we continue to deepen integrations among the ASEAN countries. Moreover, this community of nations is keenly aware that these efforts must be expanded to ensure that the ASEAN identity continues to take roots and continues to cement the strong belief in our shared prosperity and mutual respect. This can only be realized through strong foundations of harmonious, just, and peaceful societies. As people of the world, represented here in the General Assembly of the United Nations, embark upon the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, religions are parts of the foundation of peaceful and inclusive societies, which are quintessential to sustainable development. It is therefore important that all countries join hands in combating all forms of violence and extremism in the name of religion, and in fostering an environment of religious tolerance, peaceful accommodation, and mutual respect. For our part, the Kingdom of Thailand has consistently encouraged interfaith dialogue and cooperation, both at home and at the international level. Recently, the Thai Ministry of Foreign Affairs, together with the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the OIC, 57 countries, hosted an international symposium entitled Interfaith Dialogue and Peaceful Coexistence in Multilateral Societies. That took place in Bangkok in January this year. Thai foreign policy acknowledges the profound roles of religions, that religions can play in forging strong international bond and cooperation, and we will continue to seek out opportunities for interfaith dialogue to make a difference and a truly positive impact upon the global community. In closing, I extend my appreciation to the permanent missions of the kingdoms of Thailand and Sri Lanka for organizing this commemorative event, and to the President of the General Assembly, represented by the Vice President today, and to the Secretary General and their teams in recognizing the importance of this very, very sacred day, and for the kind invitation for me to speak here today in the spirit of peace and interfaith solidarity. May peace be upon you all. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as agreed upon, we shall now proceed with statements by the participating member states in alphabetical order with due regard given to the level of the speakers. I have on my list 14 speakers. May I now invite the first, His Excellency Mr. Masud bin Momen, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, to the rostrum to deliver his statement.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, representing the President of the General Assembly, venerable monks and also members of the monastic community present here, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Vesak Day to you all. Let me first offer my condolences to the people of Sri Lanka affected by the floods and mudslides in recent times. Today we gather here to honor, rejoice and reflect the significance of a unique sacred day, the birth, enlightenment and passing away of Lord Buddha. I am humbled to be part of today's program and would like to take the pride as Lord Buddha was born and preached his teachings in our part of the world. Further, I would like to thank on behalf of the Permanent Mission of Bangladesh to His Excellency Mr. Virachai Plasai, Permanent Representative and Ambassador of Thailand, and His Excellency Mr. Amrit Rohan Pereira, Permanent Representative and Ambassador of Sri Lanka, and their colleagues for organizing this year's celebration. Gautama Buddha's teachings of peace, compassion, goodwill, equality, and love for all helped him to achieve nirvana, the enlightenment, and moved millions of people across nations. The teachings of Lord Buddha for harnessing a culture of peace are the foundation of every society for sustainable peace, equality, fairness, compassion and justice. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, historical records show that Buddhism, which spread from the Indian subcontinent, was well established in the present-day Bangladesh as early as in the 3rd century BC. Over centuries, Buddhism has indeed made deep impression on our social, cultural, spiritual and intellectual lives. We are humbled by the fact that the largest Buddhist monastery or Vihara on the south of the Himalayas was located in the northern part of Bangladesh in Paharpur. We share the relics of Lord Buddha with countries like Thailand, Nepal, India, Myanmar, Sri Lanka and other neighbors. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, Bangladesh is a nation that consists of diverse religious groups that have coexisted in complete harmony and peace for generations. The tolerance and even appreciation for all religions are reflected in our constitution and makes us one of the most moderate, liberal people. The people of different religious backgrounds and faith share a relationship of mutual respect and are free to practice their own religion and culture in Bangladesh. Our Buddhist community practice their religion with full rights as followers of other religions do in Bangladesh. Vesak Day is known in my country as Buddha Purnima or Vaisakhi Purnima, for centuries and is celebrated every year nationally. Although Buddhists are about 1% of our total population, Vesak Day is observed as a national holiday and special programs are organized to commemorate this day. Excellencies, more than 2,500 years ago, Prince Siddhartha Gautama enlightened us as Lord Buddha, a human being who was born as a human being, lived and died as a human being, found ways to end human pains, sorrows, and sufferings. Unfortunately, many of us have moved away from his core teachings today. Those of us who are actively engaged and committed to establish peace, security, and development, this Vesak Day, therefore, is of special significance, particularly in this transformative year when we begin implementation of Agenda 2030 or the Sustainable Development Goals. Let us renew our collective effort to end violent extremism, to end armed conflicts, to end hunger and poverty, to end misunderstanding and misgivings, to end social and religious discrimination, and to end deprivation and suffering. Let us all pray for peace and strive for the creation of a better world. Thank you.
May I now invite His Excellency Mr. Ri Tui, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Kingdom of Cambodia, to the rostrum to deliver his statement.
Venerable monks, Ambassador Maria Emma Meja Velez, Vice President of the General Assembly, Ambassador Virachai Plasai, Permanent Representative of the Kingdom of Thailand to the United Nations, Ambassador Amrit Rohan Pera, Permanent Representative of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka to the UN. At the outset, on behalf of the people and the Royal Government of Cambodia, I would like to convey my deepest condolences to the people and the government of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka and the bereaved family who lost their loved ones in the huge storm that triggered across Sri Lanka. We are deeply saddened by this disaster and misery caused to the beautiful islands of Sri Lanka. Now I would like to deliver my brief remarks. It is my great pleasure and honor to join you all in celebrating this sacred and revered day for millions of Buddhists worldwide. I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to Ambassador Permanent Representative of Thailand and Ambassador Permanent Representative of Sri Lanka for organizing this very important ceremony. Every year, Cambodia, just like many Buddhist countries across Asia, celebrate Vesak Cambodia, commemorating the birth, enlightenment, and passing of Lord Buddha. As Buddhism is one of the state's motto, more than 95% of the 15.8 million Cambodians are Buddhists. There are more than 4,500 temples across the country. The Buddha's teachings play a crucial role in the Cambodian society in promoting tolerance, compassion, and non-violence. Vesak celebration is extremely significant for the Cambodian people. In Buddhist tradition, the day of Vesak presents an opportunity to reflect on our actions and attain a greater social and spiritual understanding. Looking back some 70 years ago, the United Nations was created to avoid another cataclysm similar to the outbreak of the two major wars of the last century. Yet, the last 70 years have not been marked by peace and development. Numerous conflicts have claimed lives of millions of people worldwide, with nations dividing themselves on major global issues. Although we now live in complex multipolar world, the global situation requires coordinated action and coming together of all partners in sharing of resources and the know-how in order to overcome the struggles millions of people face worldwide. The essence of Buddha's teachings is encompassed in the Four Noble Truths, which explain the suffering of humanity and provide us with guidance in our everyday lives. In Buddhist perspective, desire and ignorance are at the root of suffering. Without the capacity for mental concentration and insight, vices such as greed, envy, hatred, and anger consequently derive from this ignorance. As such, carrying on activities in the field of social, educational, cultural, and other humanitarian services, we must learn to subordinate our narrow self-interest to the common good of others. Traditionally, the Buddhist understandings of peace begin with inner peace, born by compassion and loving kindness in the individual mind. Therefore, in order to propagate the doctrine of Buddha, we should first be at inner peace with ourselves. We must detach ourselves from self-interest and greed, while adopting a universal perspective by which we could outgrow the egocentric outlook. To adopt this, we must overcome exploitative greed with global generosity, helpfulness, and cooperation. We must overcome hatred and revenge, and above all practice tolerance, forgiveness, and kindness. In this manner, we could secure unity, solidarity, and brotherhood among humankind. We must recognize that our world is interdependent and that irresponsible behavior anywhere has potentially harmful repercussions everywhere. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today is a sacred day. With this day, we mark the Buddha's message of compassion, peace, and goodwill, and commemorate his devotion to the service of humanity. The Day of Vesak affords all Buddhists the opportunity to come together and reflect on unity and friendship among various traditions, to promote the rich values, philosophy, and principles of the teachings of the Buddha, and to remind everyone to live in harmony with people of other faiths. As we move forward in our work, let us not forget his wise words. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. I would like to wish Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and all compatriots for the four gems of Buddhist blessing: longevity, nobility, health, and strength. I wish you a happy day of Vesak. Thank you.
May I now invite His Excellency Mrs. Syed Akbaruddin, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of India, to the rostrum to deliver his statement.
Venerable monks, Acting President of the General Assembly, co-chairs for today's event, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues and friends. It is an honor for me as a representative of India, the land of the origin of Buddha and Buddhism, to join my colleagues, the representatives of 13 other countries, to speak on this auspicious occasion as we jointly commemorate the Day of Vesak. Lord Buddha's key message of truth, non-violence, and peace resonate across distant lands and continues to do so today, 2.5 millennia after Mahaparinirvana. The life and teachings of Lord Buddha have provided inspiration to hundreds of millions of people through the centuries. He was a reformer who gave a new world vision, which continues to hold relevance even today. His life illustrates the power of service, compassion, and renunciation. Gautama Buddha was not only focused on individual emancipation, but he was also a great social reformer. He was a teacher of equality who embodied a rational and ethical tradition of inquiry and was a marker of liberal and pluralist society. As Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, recently described Gautama Buddha and said, he gave humanity the greatest management lesson through the simple words, Ata Dipo Bhava, which means, be your own light. The Buddhist faith has influenced and enriched our philosophy, science, art, and architecture, as well as culture and education throughout history, especially in large parts of South and Southeast Asia. Buddhist monasteries have earned renown as great places of higher learning. Nalanda in eastern India was one of the world's oldest residential universities that attracted thousands of students arriving from great distances to live and learn at the great seat of Buddhist learning. Nalanda is now on the way to its revival, 800 years after its decline. This is a remarkable project being accomplished in cooperation across several countries. The modern world continues to be beset with great human suffering, deepening inequalities, violent conflicts, and environmental degradation. The teachings of Buddha about harmony with inner self and with nature, of which we are all part of, hold great promise to enlighten people and alleviate the suffering in societies. Respect for environment is deeply embedded in Buddhist thought. From a Buddhist perspective, nothing has a separate existence. Nature and well-being of all are of great importance in the Buddhist tradition. The Buddhist way is a reaffirmation of a sustainable lifestyle. The landmark recognition of the need to pursue a collective global sustainable development agenda in the form of SDGs and a similar spirit of understanding and cooperation for common good, shown in the conclusion of the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, also stands. All have strands of the wisdom of our traditions, including those embodied in Buddhism. As the Chancellor of the Nalanda University, Giorgio, recently remarked, our inspiration from the old Nalanda is man living in harmony with man living in harmony with nature, and man living as part of nature. Buddhism today has spread well beyond its Asian origins and has become a global religion as people continue to seek answers to the human condition. Today, our common Buddhist heritage and respect for Buddhist thought and practice unites all of us across borders. It is therefore appropriate that the United Nations has been commemorating the Day of Vesak since 1999. Also, 2016 is the first year following last year's General Assembly resolution that reaffirmed the widespread observance of Vesak Day as one of the great religious holy days for humanity. The observance of this day is our way of nurturing the values espoused by Lord Buddha. On this auspicious day, I join all of you in paying homage to the legacy of Lord Buddha and in keeping with his values, praying for our collective happiness and well-being.
May I now invite His Excellency Mr. Dian Triansya Jani,
Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Republic of Indonesia to the rostrum to deliver his statement. Mr. Co-Chairs, Madam Ambassador Maria, on behalf of the President of the GA, Venerable Monks, Excellencies, distinguished guests, I wish to begin by extending my warmest greetings to the Buddhist community, particularly those present here today in the General Assembly Hall on this very august occasion of Vesak Day. We wish you all a solemn and peaceful celebration as you commemorate the birth, enlightenment, and passing of Gautama Buddha. Allow me also to take this opportunity to express our deep appreciation to His Excellency Mr. Virachai Plasai, the Permanent Representative of Thailand, and His Excellency Mr. Rohan Pereira, the Permanent Representative of Sri Lanka, and their outstanding staff for organizing this event. I would also like to take this opportunity on behalf of the people and the government of Indonesia to send our prayers to the victims of the recent disasters in Sri Lanka and to their grieving families. Co-chairs, Venerable Monks, Excellencies, distinguished guests. It is an honor and privilege for myself and my delegation to participate in this very important celebration. My delegation views the annual celebration of Vesak Day as a valuable occasion to reflect on ourselves, especially during this time when today's world's challenges need to be addressed. Challenges such as inequality, violent conflicts, hateful incitements, and natural disasters, to name a few, are challenges that, if they are not properly managed, will have the effect of creating a deeper divergence within and between communities. This Vesak Day celebration provides a golden opportunity, not only for Buddhists all over the world, but also for all people to contemplate the values of Buddha's teachings. The teaching of Gautama Buddha to his followers underlines the importance of spreading kindness and the need to put others ahead of yourself. By this event, let us be re-inspired by the understanding that these values are indeed relevant in promoting harmonious relation and peace in pluralistic societies. The spirit of Buddha, therefore, should be the foundation for our joint efforts to promote international peace and security, as well as to achieve harmony between different cultures, religions, or beliefs. We should never forget the wisdom and philosophy inherent in the teaching of Buddha. Co-chairs, Venerable Monks, Excellencies, and distinguished guests. The teachings of Buddha have always been a foundation for our nation. Buddhism came to Indonesia around the 5th century and became the predominant religion, together with Hinduism, for centuries. The territory of Indonesia in the past centuries was once governed by the ancient Buddhist kingdoms Sriwijaya and Majapahit, which were regional powers during their respective eras. Today, Indonesia is a diverse country with over 250 million people of thousands of different ethnic groups, as well as various religions and beliefs. This diversity enriches our character and has become part of our strength. Despite the fact that managing diversity comes with its own challenges, Indonesia is not deterred in promoting democracy,
mutual respect, or harmonious and productive coexistence among diverse groups in the context of its rich multicultural and multi-faith setting. In light of this background, Vesak Day celebration in Indonesia is one of our biggest religious events every year, awaited and enjoyed by all segments of our societies, millions of people. Since Vesak Day is a national holiday in Indonesia, it gives the widest opportunity to all Buddhist flocks, temples, to celebrate with families and friends. Buddhists from around the world also use this opportunity to follow a series of rituals in Indonesia, especially because we are also blessed with the famous Borobudur Temple in Central Java, the largest Buddhist temple in the world, notwithstanding the famous Mendut and Pawan Temple. I am also blessed and proud to say that in this great city of New York, just recently, last year, we have established a new vihara by the Indonesian Buddhist community, the Parivara Dhamma Acara. It is a sign of our commitment in terms of religious tolerance. Mr. Co-Chairs, Venerable Monks, Excellencies and distinguished guests, I am also thankful that the United Nations also acknowledged officially Vesak Day by celebrating it today in this august chamber with many of you today. And in closing, I would also like to underline once again for us all not to forget the teaching of the Lord Buddha of the importance of changing yourself in order to change the world. And in this august building of the United Nations, we should change the world for the betterment of humankind. With great happiness, let us all join in the celebration of Vesak Day and work together to achieve peace and international solidarity. I wish you all a peaceful Vesak Day celebration. Thank you.
May I now invite His Excellency Dr. Kien Pansuriwong, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Lao People's Democratic Republic to the rostrum, to deliver his statement.
Honorable monks, Madam President, co-chairs, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to convey our deepest condolences and sympathy to the Sri Lankan government and people and families of the victims caused by the devastating floods and landslides in the past few days in Sri Lanka. On this auspicious occasion of commemoration of the International Day of Vesak at the United Nations, on behalf of the delegation of the Lao PDR, I have a great pleasure to convey our heartfelt greetings to all Buddhist followers worldwide. I wish to thank the Permanent Mission of Thailand to the United Nations and the Permanent Mission of Sri Lanka to the United Nations for co-organizing this important event. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the observance of International Vesak is the most important day for all Buddhists around the world, as it marks three major significant things in the life of Lord Buddha. That is the birth, the enlightenment, the passing away. The message of peace, compassion, and love for all taught by Lord Buddha are as relevant today as they were 2,559 years ago. His teachings have inspired and guided us to cope with challenges and overcome sufferings that we face in our daily life. The celebration of the International Vesak Day also helps to promote mutual understanding and mutual respect tolerance, and compassion among peoples and nations. The fact that the International Vesak Day is celebrated here at the United Nations is indeed the recognition by the international community of the diversity in religions and cultures that are being practiced and followed in different countries. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, since the advent of Buddhism in my country, Laos, many centuries ago, it has become the main religion that is being practiced and followed by almost all of the Lao people. Buddhism also becomes an important part in our daily life as it plays a significant role in promoting understanding, respect, harmony, mutual assistance, and peace-loving of all Lao people. Buddhism also peacefully coexists with other religions in our country. It is therefore my firm belief that the International Day of Vesak will be the opportunity for us to reiterate our determination to lead a noble life, to develop our mental health, to practice loving kindness, and to bring peace and harmony to humanity. Thank you.
May I now invite His Excellency Mr. Durga Prasad Patrai, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Federal Democratic Republic of Nepal, to the rostrum to deliver his statement.
Namaskar. Venerable monks, distinguished co-chairs, Ambassador Prasai of Thailand and Ambassador Pereira of Sri Lanka, Madam Acting President of the General Assembly, Ambassador Maria Emma Valles, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. On this special commemorative event on the International Day of Vesak at the United Nations, I bring to you and the millions of Buddha Margis the warm felicitations and profound compliments from the government and people of Nepal. In February 2000, the General Assembly recognized the Day of Vesak for observance at the United Nations headquarters and other United Nations offices. It did so through its unanimous resolution 54/115, which Nepal was honored to co-sponsor. My delegation takes pride in being a part of the observance of the Day of Vesak in New York every year. We applaud Thailand and Sri Lanka for their continued leadership in organizing these events. To those who believe in the Buddha's ideals of peace, nonviolence, and harmony, Vaisakha Shukla Purnima, or the full moon day in the month of Vaisakha, or the Buddha Purnima, or Vesak Day, falling on the 21st of May this year, is thrice blessed, with Siddhartha Gautama's birth in 623 BC, his enlightenment at age 35, and after 45 years of teaching, his ultimate Mahaparinirvana. This day offers an opportunity to commemorate the life and contributions of the Sakyamuni Buddha to the cause of humanity and world peace. This year, as home to the gardens where Siddhartha was born, Nepal convened yesterday and today an international Buddhist conference in Kathmandu on the theme Lumbini, Nepal, the birthplace of Lord Buddha and fountain of Buddhism and world peace. Tomorrow we will celebrate, amidst a very special ceremony, the 2560th birth anniversary of the Buddha in Lumbini itself. Excellencies, the Buddha's teachings and the story of his life are a legacy Nepal cherishes. It has certainly shaped the resilience of the Nepalese people and inspired the volunteerism and community support we saw last year when the country was hit by multiple earthquakes, causing thousands of deaths and injuries, harming people's livelihoods, destroying property and infrastructure worth billions of dollars, and damaging priceless monuments and heritage sites. we in Nepal have been humbled by the outpouring of support and assistance from our friends. We are grateful to all for their continuing partnership as we work to build back better and smarter. Our deepest gratitude go also to the venerable monks and well-wishers around the world for their kind prayers. We are confident that with greater support from the international community, we will be able to fully restore our invaluable cultural heritages. Today, our heart goes to Sri Lanka for having to endure the tragedy due to recent rainfall, flood, and landslide, and Nepal stands firmly with the people and government of Sri Lanka at this tragic hour. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Buddha's timeless teachings of ahimsa and the middle path have been edifying to our societies for over 2.5 millennia and should resonate with us here at the United Nations, whose ideals are also of nonviolence, tolerance, and compassion. What is more, the Buddha's larger message aims to free humankind from the sources of misery and suffering, the klesha of ignorance, attachment, and aversion. This desire to allay human suffering and lift the human condition lies at the heart of the Buddha's teachings and also at the heart of the work of the United Nations. Therefore, I wish to conclude by calling on all to reflect on our effort at the United Nations to assuage human suffering in all its manifestations and to resolve to fortify our efforts on all fronts of our work. This would indeed be a true homage to this great apostle of world peace, the Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. I thank you for your kind attention.
May I now invite Her Excellency Ms. Lourdes Ortiz y Paraguirre, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Republic of the Philippines, to the rostrum to deliver her statement.
Venerable monks, Madam President, co-chairs, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. The Philippines is truly honored to participate in today's celebration of the International Day of Vesak, commemorating the birth, enlightenment, and passing away of Buddha. 16 years ago, when member states adopted UN Resolution 54/115, which recognized this important event, the Philippine government issued Proclamation number 24, declaring the full moon day of May of every year as Vesak Day. The Philippine initiative was also in keeping with our policy on fostering interfaith dialogue as an instrument to promote peace and security. Buddhism was introduced in the Philippines between the 7th and 13th century. Buddhism also had significant linguistic influences on the Filipino language. For example, buddhi, or conscience, is from the Sanskrit word bodhi, and sampalataya, or faith, is from the Sanskrit word sampratyaya. Today, with around 2% of Philippine population practicing the Buddhist faith, the Philippines ranks 20th in the world in terms of Buddhist population. In major cities of Manila, Cebu, and Davao, Buddhism is practiced and propagated alongside other faiths and religions, a fact that demonstrates an inclusive Filipino society. As we celebrate Vesak Day, the international community is gently reminded to effectively address complex global and regional challenges which, from a Buddhist perspective, deal with the three dimensions of peace: inner peace, peace in the community of humankind, and ecological peace. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the international community, through the United Nations, has achieved so much in promoting peace, security, human rights, and sustainable development in the last 70 years. As we continue to build the peace within us and around us, may the teachings of Buddha continue to inspire us in transforming our world into one of compassion, respect, and understanding, a world with balance, healing, and purpose. Thank you all for your attention.
May I now invite Her Excellency Mrs. Nguyen Phuong Nga, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, to the rostrum to deliver a statement.
Venerable monks, Madam President of the General Assembly, distinguished co-chairs, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to speak at this auspicious ceremony commemorating the United Nations Day of Vesak. May I first pay my respects to venerable monks and express my warmest congratulations to members of Buddhist community present here today. I also would like to express our deep appreciation and gratitude to His Excellency Ambassador Amrit Rohan Pereira, Permanent Representative of Sri Lanka, and His Excellency Ambassador Virachai Plasai, Permanent Representative of the Kingdom of Thailand, and their team for organizing this special event. I also wish to convey our profound condolences to the government and people of Sri Lanka for the great loss caused by the recent floodings and landslides. Ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate the birth, enlightenment, and passing away of the Lord Buddha, we honor his noble teachings and the Buddhist philosophy, which, after more than 25 centuries, still remain relevant today. In the light of Lord Buddha's teaching, international community and nations could find common ground and explore possible solutions to many challenges we are now facing, such as poverty, discriminations and injustice, conflict and violence, environmental degradation, and climate change. Teachings of the Lord Buddha are well known for ideals of peace, justice, and equality. Buddhism has basic teachings of humanity, understanding, compassion, nonviolence, and tolerance, which are essential for peaceful coexistence and peaceful solutions of conflicts. Buddhism teaches us to love humankind, to live together in peace and brotherhood, and in harmony with the nature as we are a part of it. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout thousands of years of Vietnam's history, Buddhism has been closely linked with the national construction and defense. Its lofty values and fundamental principles have been deeply integrated into everyday lives of Vietnamese people. We witnessed a strong development of Buddhism in Vietnam over the past years. At present, we have nearly 14 million of Buddhist followers, over 45,000 monks and nuns, more than 17,000 Buddhist pagodas, monasteries, and places of worship. Buddhism coexists in harmony with other religions in Vietnam and made significant contribution to peace, stability, and development of our country and the well-being of our people. Ladies and gentlemen, a key concept of Buddhism is karma, which says every action is linked through cause and effect. The present interconnected world demonstrates this connection.